Sad news this week as the untimely passing of Jay Briscoe was announced on Tuesday. Jay was involved in a car accident that did take his life. There was somebody else in the vehicle with him that also lost their life that, at least at this point that I'm recording, hasn't been named yet. Apparently there were two other passengers as well. One was being noted as pediatric, which means a kid. We did get some light shed on this by Jay Briscoe's wife, who tweeted this. Let me go ahead and just read this. From Ashley Pugh, the wife of Jamin Pugh, a.k.a. Jay Briscoe. We need prayers. Gracie is on her way into surgery on her back. Jamin would want the whole world praying for his little girl. We believe in the power of prayer. Pray for the doctor and everyone working on her. Pray for her precious legs to move again. Pray for Jaylee, who has some pretty serious injuries, but is stable and resting. Pray for Gannon, waiting at home. Pray for strength for all of us. We have a long road ahead of us. So apparently Jay's kids were in the car as well. One of them is not able to move their legs at this point. This one hit particularly hard. I won't sit and say I was like the biggest Briscoe Brothers fan or anything like that, but not for any lack of skill or entertainment value or anything on their end, more just because of lack of exposure. I didn't follow Ring of Honor week to week, where they spent the majority of their career. The Briscoe brothers spent 20 years in Ring of Honor, right from when they were little kids. They were 18 years old. They're twins. They broke into the business at an early age in their teens, working the Northeast Independents. They're from Delaware, and quickly found a home in Ring of Honor, and that's where they stayed, partly because of loyalty on both ends. The Briscoes loyal to Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor taking good care of the Briscoes. But also, they were controversial at times, and that was not just things that they tweeted online that got them in trouble and got them, for example, not allowed on AEW TV. I believe they had a tryout with WWE at the time, or WWE was eyeballing them. They had that tweet that went out that wasn't a good look, but I mean, any company would have benefited greatly by having the Briscoes on their roster. They are one of, if not arguably the greatest tag team of all time. I'd say one of, for sure. I think that's undisputed. And, anytime somebody's taken from us early like that, where just out of nowhere, there's no warning signs for this. He wasn't ill. He wasn't in the hospital. There was no just here one day and gone the next, man. And we're hot off the heels of the most incredible trilogy of tag team matches I've ever seen in my life. That dog collar match, I think, was the crowning achievement of both FTR and the Briscoes, and they would tell you that. They recently did an interview on Busted Open shortly after the dog collar match, and both had kind of agreed that was probably the greatest match they've ever had, and the FTR was their greatest rivalry they've ever had. So it just sucks, man. And I can't even sit here as a fan. It sucks for me because I'm a fan, right? It sucks for me because I want to see more Briscoe Brothers matches, that want to see more Jay in the ring and Jay with Mark, and neither one of those things are ever going to happen again. But I think it sucks. It sucks more for the people that knew him, obviously, friends, peers in the wrestling business that have worked with him for 20 years. and his family. I can't imagine what his wife's going through right now. Not just losing Jay, but she barely has time to grieve over that because she's got kids that are hurt and in the hospital, and one of them may never walk again. There's no other details on this at the time that I'm recording as far as how the accident happened or who else was in the car that passed away. I'm sure by the time this my podcast gets up on the weekend, maybe there'll be updates and maybe I'll talk about it there too. But I think I'll just kind of leave this as it is to stand alone. And again, I don't have a lot to say. I wasn't a huge follower of the Briscoes. I can't go beat for beat over their whole career or anything. I just know anytime that I did see the Briscoes, they were always on point. It was always fire. It was always a war out there. Those guys could work like motherfuckers. I believe it was Dax said that Jay was he was hit the hardest by Jay and that he's ever been hit by anybody in the ring. That him and Jay had agreed to kind of exchange fists in the fight for real because they wanted it to be as airtight as possible, and Dax quickly regretted that almost immediately as his face began to hurt really bad all over from the potatoes flying from Jay. But goddamn, man, we lost a true artist, a true performer, a hell of a talent in the ring. One of the greatest tag teams of all time. I mean, if you're gonna do a Mount Rushmore of tag teams, it's hard to not consider the Briscoes to be on that Mount Rushmore. I think the only thing that would really hold them back is just their lack of traveling outside of the Indies and Ring of Honor. They didn't get to come over to AEW and work with more of those teams, though they have worked with the Bucks and they have worked with the FTR and that sort of thing, but they never got a chance to go to WWE and work with the Usos or anything like that, and that's certainly a dream match that was left on the table. It just sucks, man. These kind of things suck so bad, and it's hard for me to find any kind of words to do any of it justice other than, I will miss him. I appreciated everything that he did and as a performer, and my heart goes out to his friends, his peers, and of course his family and his kids that are still trying to work through this accident at this time. I do pray for full recovery, and that she's able to walk, and that they're able to move on and put all this behind them. Hopefully Tony takes good care of him. Tony's got their contracts and everything, so I imagine Tony's gonna take good care of the family. But yeah, he would be 39 now. I believe today, as I record this, is his birthday. So I saw a post wishing Mark Briscoe a happy birthday, and I thought that was kind of in bad taste. The thought was there, but why? Jesus, you know what I mean? Thoughts go out to Mark Briscoe. I can't imagine him either. When I say peers and family, I kind of left out Mark there a little bit. This is his best friend, obviously, his brother, his ride or die. And one of the just random things that popped in my head when I heard about this was that Mark's never going to get to walk down the aisle with his brother again. And it's tough. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. There's nothing more I can say that's going to do any of this any justice. Just thoughts and prayers to everybody who's mourning this, and especially the people closest to him. Rest in peace, Jamin Pugh, a.k.a. Jay Briscoe, one half of one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Bye.